And finally, impartiality and decorum. And so judges are supposed to be impartial, of course, and maintain a sense of decorum in the courtroom. And so lawyers shouldn't be doing things that ruin that. And one way we do that is, one way we ruin that, I guess, would be what they call ex parte communications. And that just means where one lawyer, without the other lawyer being present, talks to the judge. And even if it was innocent, it's really a bad idea because it kind of makes it look bad for the judge. And judges have to avoid any appearance of impropriety. So ex parte communications are forbidden. It's a duty that both lawyers owe, and the judge as well. There's some rare exceptions, like for emergencies when like someone needs a temporary restraining order. It's the middle of the night, and the other party's not available, or the other party should not be told because this person is very dangerous. Temporary restraining order might be given ex parte. And just as a little side note, if there is an ex parte hearing, the lawyer has a duty to give up any facts because the other party's not there to bring them up. Remember I said you had the duty as a to the tribunal to bring up any law that the other party may have missed. You have no duty to bring up any facts that the other party missed, ever, except when it's an ex parte trial, when the other party's not there. And so impartiality is really important, and of course the decorum in the courtroom. So most judges are lawyers, right? There are elected judges, and there are plenty of judges who are not lawyers. I've had a few in my law school classes. And I remember a couple of years ago, an 18-year-old got elected, and about 2 months later, he was impeached because he was a horrible judge. But the idea is, judges usually are lawyers, and they, of course, owe the same duties. So the lawyer's duties as an advocate, one is not to engage in trial publicity that might have some sort of an effect on the outcome of the case. And for those of you who love Law and Order, and who doesn't, we see this all the time. They're arguing the case on the courthouse steps. You shouldn't be doing that, number one. Again, some things that are public record that everybody knows about, it's not really a problem, but they're trying to convince people. Are there jurors watching, or are the jurors going to hear about this? It's really a bad idea. There's one little exception rule that's kind of funny, is if someone says something that could be taken as impermissible on the courthouse steps, the other party can say just enough to counter that. And what sometimes happens is it goes back and forth until finally they're just saying everything that they shouldn't be able to say, because just enough to ameliorate the effects of the first person with the unfair statements on the courthouse steps. Lawyers for a case shouldn't be on TV talking about it. If a lawyer is not representing either party, they can go on TV and talk all the time. You've seen some of those people. Some of them are actually pretty horrible. All right, lawyer as a witness. If you're going to be called as a witness, then you shouldn't take the case. Again, lawyers are not going to be giving facts in the courtroom, and that means they shouldn't be acting as a witness. Now, if a lawyer is going to have that conflict where they need to be a witness, that is one conflict that is not imputed to the entire firm. The entire firm is not going to be barred from representing them, but that lawyer shouldn't be the one leading the case. One of the other imputation rules I think is pretty cool is that, this is pretty surprising, but lawyers should not be having sex with their clients. However, unless they were having sex with the client before they became a client, then they can continue to have sex with their client. Anyway, if a lawyer is conflicted from representing a party because of a sexual relationship, that sexual relationship is not imputed to the rest of the law firm. Like the conflict is not with all 1,000 lawyers. The sexual relationship is not with all 1,000 lawyers. They just cannot be the ones representing them like in court like that. And finally, prosecutors. Prosecutors have a special duty. And, when I was in law school, I thought, this is what I want to do, because these are the lawyers with a clear conscience, because they have a duty not to take any case that they don't believe they have probable cause. And they have a duty to seek justice, not just do good for their client. They represent the state, and that's what they have to do. Now, I realize prosecutors are under a lot of pressure to get, convictions, and sometimes they kind of skirt the issues a little bit, but prosecutors have special duties. And the one I think your book talks about is that if you find any information that would tend to exculpate one of the criminals before you, then you have a duty to turn that over to their lawyer. So you don't have to wait to be asked for it. You have to give it up immediately. And if it's really egregious, like it would put them away forever, it's not just a model rule issue. It's a constitutional right issue. Prosecutors aren't supposed to lean on people to give up their constitutional rights. And my favorite, because we had a great alum of our school who was a prosecutor in Dallas, if they know that someone has been convicted wrongly, they have a duty to try to get their conviction overturned. And he was great at it. He got a lot of flack for it because people thought it was a waste of his time when he should have been putting more criminals in jail. I'm really proud of the guy. Duties to third parties. Here it is again. It's kind of a theme. Lawyers aren't supposed to be lying. Who knew? Anyway, model rules are big on that. So if you see, any kind of issues of a lawyer, telling lies, it comes out to third parties like this too. Like maybe you're doing some investigation on something that happened at this company, and you're in there, and someone says, "Yeah, those lawyers are trying to really, screw us over." And you're like, "Oh, I know those lawyers." I said, he said, "You're not a lawyer, are you?" "Oh, no. I'm just here, just like talking to people. How you doing? How's everything? Did you see what happened?" You have to be honest with third parties. I love the no contact rule. The no contact rule is about jurors during a trial. So, if you see the jurors in the courthouse, before the trial starts or during breaks, no contact rule. If it's lunchtime and there's a cafeteria in the building, there's nowhere else to sit except for the jurors, you just don't have lunch. No contact. There's one Texas judge, my favorite story. He says, if you get in an elevator and the jury piles in, you can't get out. His rule is you look down at your shoes the entire time and just don't say a word. But it's really serious. You can have contact with the jurors after the trial if the court says it's okay, and the jurors say it's okay. If they don't want to be, contacted, then you can't do it. There's another part of that rule that says you can't contact them if the whole reason is to harangue them or say, "You guys are idiots. What did you do?" With unrepresented parties, you can go ahead and just talk to them. Some people will take their own case pro se. They'll act as their own lawyer, even though they're not a lawyer. And so, of course, you can talk with them. But if someone is represented, if someone has a lawyer, and that means the other party, or even just a witness, if you know they have a lawyer for this particular issue, then you can't talk directly to them. You must go through their lawyer. And third persons, what is this doing here? I've been talking about third persons this whole time. I guess it's D on page 254, respect for the rights of third persons more generally. Some rules. I guess we had to be told you shouldn't be harassing, wiretapping people's stuff, doing all these bad things to third parties. I don't know why we need rules for that. It seems pretty clear. Anyway, so I hope you see here the lawyer owes lots of duties all over the place. We didn't even talk about some of them because you're not going to be practicing law unless you go to law school and get a JD. So most of them are pretty esoteric, but there's a ton of them. And we're talking about the most important ones that I think will affect you as perhaps the client or potential client. Anyway, we're going to move on now.